Hi guys, it's Royce here from SB Fitness, and today we're going to be going through a simple way of using apps like MyFitnessPal to enable yourself to stick to a flexible eating plan. Now, a couple of things I want to cover first of all before we get started. One thing I'm not going to cover in this video is how to work out your macronutrient requirements. If you're a member at any of our gyms, that a link would have been sent out to you within your welcome emails, or if you are a personal training client within Supreme Being Fitness, then you need to contact the coaches and speak to them directly to find out exactly what macronutrients you should be sticking to. So the first thing we're going to cover is how we're going to set our macronutrient goals, what we can work out from within MyFitnessPal. So we're going to go to our goals and objectives here. And you can see here we have our nutrition goals. Now, something to be aware of within MyFitnessPal, if you ever change your statistics, so your goal weight, your current weight, your goal or your activity level, then there is a chance that it will change these targets automatically. So that's definitely something to be aware of. If you ever edit these, make sure that these do not get changed unless you are changing them yourself. So first thing we're going to adjust is the calories. Let's say we're going to aim for 2,000 calories a day, and we're going to save that. Okay, so we've got our 2,000 calories a day. Then we're going to need to set our macronutrients, so proteins, carbs, and fats. Now, depending on if you have the upgraded version of MyFitnessPal, which will allow you to set each macronutrient in grams, the closest we can do with the basic level is set it by percentage. So you can see here we can adjust the percentages up and down, which will adjust how much proteins and carbs we're looking for within our nutrition. Obviously, it needs to equal 100% for it to work, and we'll see, how we're going to make sure we hit the right macros. Now, play around with these, and obviously the goal is to get these three groups, proteins, carbs, and fats, as close to the objectives that you've been set as possible, okay? If they're out by a few grams, it's not going to make a huge difference. Okay, so we're going to set these now, and you'll see that it's made the changes that I've just made there. We don't need to worry about any of the advanced nutrition goals for now. Okay, the next step we're going to cover is how to track your food on a day-to-day basis using the diary screen here. So if we go to diary, it's going to open up my day. Now, something to quickly be aware of, I would never let my MyFitnessPal account sync with my Fitbit or my phone for taking daily steps or daily activities or any exercise. Reason being, what it will do on this screen here is it will add exercise calories to this part here, and then throw out the amount of calories it's telling you to eat every day. So if it adds 200 here, it's essentially telling you to add 200 more calories to your food. Now, if you've used any of Supreme Being Fitness calculators or coaches to work out your macronutrients, this amount of exercise energy expenditure has already been accounted for. So if you was to do it again, you're essentially adding them in twice, which is going to throw out the goals that we've set. Okay, so that's just something to bear in mind. Make sure that exercise is never factoring in. Now, when it comes to tracking your food, you can, if you prefer, track your food by time slots or by breakfast, lunch, snack, then dinner. However you like to divide your day up is completely fine. Personally, I like to add any food that I eat into just my morning slot. And the reason being for that is I will show you in a moment. When I go into add food, it's going to pull up the different things that I've eaten recently, okay? So, basically any food that has been tracked in my recent history will be stored here. Now, if I divide my food up by breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, to find the recent foods, I would need to go to the same time slot. However, if by tracking it all at 6 a.m., it's basically going to have a list of all of the foods that have been recorded recently, and if I eat the same foods fairly often, then it's going to be easier for me to find. So we'll see we've got here recent, which is basically any things that have been put into my account recently. Frequently, which is stuff that MyFitnessPal has seen going quite often. So you'll see the common things in here: chicken breast, rolled oats, whey protein, etc. My foods are foods that I have saved, and then meals are meals that I have saved in my diary from different foods that I've added and then saved here. and then you can also create your own recipes. So if you add or make recipes yourself that are fairly common within your nutrition, you can add the individual ingredients and then save them as a recipe. So you can come here, click create a recipe, and then save it. Or if you want to quickly add calories from a food that you can't find on MyFitnessPal, then you can do that here. So the simple ways to track your food that you're eating. Again, if you don't use the recent screen because you're new to this, we can simply click here and search for a food. So we can take any food that we're commonly eating. So for example, if we was to say chicken, we type in chicken, hit the search button, and it's going to pull up any different thing that you can imagine with chicken in it. Now, the problem you're going to face here is you've got things like coronation chicken, you've got chicken fat, you've got all sorts of different chicken. So a way of making your tracking a little bit easier is to be a little bit more specific with what you're searching for. So if I was to say chicken breast, and I know it's from Tesco, I can type that in the search and you'll find here, breaded chicken breast, Tesco, peri-peri chicken breast, Tesco, okay? So it's pulling up more accurate information that I can then put into my macronutrients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I have the peri-peri chicken breast. I'm going to click it here, and it's going to open up and tell me some of the information. Okay, so it tells me how many calories are in it, how much fat, proteins, and carbs. Okay, your screen on your phone might be laid out slightly different, but ultimately it's giving me the same information. Now, what we need to get right as well is looking at the serving size. So we have the number of servings and the serving size. You can see here that it says half a pack, which cooked weight is 145 grams, and then I have one serving of that. If it turns out that I eat the whole pack, we can come onto this option here and change it to the whole pack, one serving of, click save, and then when I click the tick, it's going to put that whole pack into my record here, and it's also going to pull up that this food is high in protein. So it's going to give me advice throughout the day about how I'm doing and the type of foods I'm eating. Likewise, when you get close to eating all of your macronutrients for a particular day, it's going to let you know that you're getting close, so you need to be aware of that. Another thing that makes life really easy with MyFitnessPal, when you add a food, and you can actually use what's called a barcode scanner. So it's going to allow you to click this button here, which I can't click because I'm using a computer screen right now, but we can click this button. It accesses the camera on your phone, and then it allows you to scan a barcode from a product that you're about to eat, and then you can add it in the same way I just did with the peri-peri chicken breast that I just added there. So that's a really, really simple way that you can add your food, and you just do this throughout the day, add in your food, and it's an easy way of keeping a food diary and food log. Now, what we also want to observe is how our food is looking throughout the day. So an easy way to do that is to go to the nutrition screen here. And what it's going to do is pull up where I'm at related to my goals. So remember at the first screen, I set my goals for fats, which you can see here, protein, which you can see here, and carbohydrates, which you can see here. Now, again, your screen may be slightly different, but ultimately, again, it's giving the same information. So you can see from the chicken breast that I have already put in, total fat goal is 67. From that chicken breast, I got 14 grams. My protein goal is 175 grams, and I've eaten 75 grams already. And you can see some of my other information here. Down this side here on the edge is going to tell me what I have left every day. So the ultimate goal is that I want to end up with 0 fat left, 0 carbs left, and 0 proteins left down this right hand side of the screen, because that's going to tell me that I am achieving my macro goals. Now, another thing to be aware of with your carbohydrate intake particularly is your dietary fiber. Okay, now MyFitnessPal will automatically calculate a good amount of fiber that you should be eating for the amount of carbohydrates that you set. This is one thing that I would say should stay of paramount importance for making sure you are eating a good amount of quality carbohydrates. Good sources like vegetables, oats, and high fiber foods not only help with your digestive tract, but also help with slowing down the release of glucose and keep your blood sugar levels more stable. So I would strongly recommend that you ensure your dietary fiber goal is also met. So proteins, carbs, and fats are important, but also dietary fiber does count for something as well. Another thing that we can do with MyFitnessPal is use it to plan our food in advance, because we all know it's very easy to get distracted, and I understand that a lot of people have got very busy diaries, so we can skip to tomorrow and kind of use the tools in here to add the foods in that we're likely to eat, and plan what we're going to eat the day in advance to make sure that we get pretty much very accurate to our macronutrient goals and objectives. Now, one common misconception with the onus of flexible dieting is that it's only used to enable people to constantly eat donuts and McDonald's and takeaways and stuff like that, when the reality is that isn't actually the case. The idea of understanding food and nutrition and using MyFitnessPal means that you're going to be in a position where you can afford flexibility every now and then, but ultimately it's going to educate you about food and making decisions. So again, aiming for your protein, carb and fat intake and making sure we're hitting the right amount of fiber will mean that you have got a fairly balanced and varied diet. But it does also come down to the right amount of correct decision making. And again, you should have received the ebook to supplement your decision making, so you understand the different food groups and where you should be looking to get the majority of your food from. That, in a nutshell, is how we use MyFitnessPal to track our food. Now, if there is ever a situation where you go over a particular macronutrient or over your calories on a particular day, because let's face it, we all make mistakes and get things wrong, the best thing to do is just offset that tomorrow. So anything you overeat by, just undereat by the next day. That's just a safety tip that I would always recommend. Try not to do it too often ultimately, but that's just a good tip that you can follow. Now, if anyone's got any questions about this video, by all means pop us an email, contact us in any way, and we will gladly explain it. Thanks, take care.